Oh, decisions. So we are going to make one of these gorgeous folios. I just need to decide which one. So if you want to see which one I choose, stay with me. So hi guys, this is Tina from Shabbydabbydoodah. Welcome back to my channel. So a bit of a different video today. What I've got here is a bunch of my folio skeletons which I sell on my website. And I thought what we could do is we will come along and pick one that we're going to work on together. So if you were kind of like wondering how would you build a folio skeleton up to make something really scrumptious and yummy and gorgeous, then yep, that's what we're going to do. So got a whole different bunch of them here, and hopefully this video is going to coincide with them being listed in my shop on my website. So if you want to kind of see them, then you know, head over there, and we're just going to pick one of them to work on ourselves. So I'm going to just kind of go through them and then decide which one to use. Now I have to say I'm going to try and steer clear from my usual style of pinks. So probably not this one, probably not the one I just showed you, because they, you know, they are obviously pretty pink. Yeah, not quite sure which one to choose, to be honest. This one is quite pretty, but having said that, this also contains quite a lot of pinks, so this is probably a no. This is absolutely gorgeous. I have to say, this one's probably my favourite out of all of them. I just love this paper so much. It's from the Capital Collection papers, and yeah, I mean, it's just so yummy. And I have to say, they've only been in my shop a few weeks, and I have used them and used them and used them, this Capital Collection. They are just so scrumptious. So yeah, that's a possible, I have to say. So I'm going to put the possibles like to one side. We've got this one here. It's got quite a lot of papers from the Avery papers. It's got some from the Documents collection. It's got one here from the Capital collection. So this one's quite nice. This one's a bit more challenging, I suppose, to some extent, because it's got quite a lot of different papers, but they all do coordinate very nicely. So yep, this one's another possible. We've got this one. Okie dokie. So I'm not quite sure how these are going to be listed on my shop at the moment. I have tended to try and do them specific more recently, but there's a lot of folios here, so they may have to go on a potluck basis, you know, and by that I just mean, you know, please know that you could end up with any of the folios that I'm showing here. So, and I maybe have got one or two more that I'm just finishing off. So yeah, it's something to just be aware of, really. This one's rather nice because this has got some blues and greens, so this one's quite different. Also, I noticed that I have actually kind of damaged this envelope when I obviously glued it down. So this would be quite a good choice, because obviously I should probably have the one that I've damaged. We've got this one. This one's also very nice. And again, this one's containing a whole bunch of, you know, quite different papers. You've got blues, greens, you've even got, you know, a pinky kind of shade there. Yeah, probably not that one because it's got the pinks. I really want to try and do something, you know, without pinks, which, oh, of course, is a struggle for me. But yeah, I mean, this one's very, very pretty. So yeah, this one is a possible. Let's put that on the possibles. Then we've got this one. This one's from the Clocks collection. This paper, the Capital collection again, mixed in with some from the Avery collection, the Pale Damask set 2, and some more from the Clocks collection here. I mean, it's a gorgeous, eclectic looking selection of papers, isn't it? Or we've got this one. This one's got lots from the Avery Blue collections, which is really scrumptious. I have to say, I really love how this one looks. You've got some vintage book page there, some from the Butterfly collection. I mean, this is kind of blues and yellows, which that would be very unusual for me to kind of work with blues and yellows. I do really like that one. I have to say, I think probably the sensible thing would be to work with the one where I spotted the damaged damaged envelope. So yeah, I think I'm going to do this one, to be honest. So the other ones, like I say, they're going to be listed on my shop on my website. Not sure whether they're going to be potluck or whether they're going to be specifics. So please know, obviously they will be, you know, very evident what they're listed as. But if you're going to go for one and they're listed as potluck basis, then just please know you could, you know, potentially get any of these. And I do have a couple of others that I'm just finishing off. So yeah, I just want you to kind of know that. So yeah, let's kind of get on with this. What we're going to do is have a look at how you would build this up into something absolutely scrumptious. So when I have done my restock videos, I have normally shown roughly, you know, the folios, and then just kind of like, you know, plonked some bits on just to kind of demonstrate. You know, I might have kind of grabbed in a couple of things and just put them on just so that you could see for some ideas of initial ways that you could kind of build it up. But we're going to go one step further than that, and we're going to kind of like make them much more kind of elaborate. We're going to obviously add the lace and things like that. We're actually going to glue things down rather than me just plonking them there for demonstrative purposes. And yeah, we're going to kind of build it up and, you know, turn it into a really kind of interactive folio. So what you get when you get these, you've got obviously pockets here, and you've got the, you know, the flaps and things. So you've got your base to start with, which is sometimes all that you need to actually kind of then build on and add on to that. So yeah, what I kind of like to do is normally put maybe pockets and things on these, you know, large pockets. You can also add extra flaps and things and tucks and all of the, you know, other things that you might like to add. You could put extra folds on the envelopes and things, you know, really build it up as much or as little as you'd like. So yeah, let's kind of get started on this. Okay, so I'm back now. I have to confess, this is absolutely weeks and weeks later, so I don't know quite what happened, but it all went out the window. Now, and also I have to confess, I've now dabbed some glue on here and now torn the paper, so yeah, that's really annoying. So I'm just going to just ink that over a little bit. Oh gosh, not looking good, but never mind. So where were we? We were going to be adding some bits and bobs to this, weren't we, to sort of transform it and change it. So that if you purchased one of these, you know, just to give you some ideas of how you would then build on it and tailor it and, you know, kind of transform it into, you know, essentially your folio really. So adding all the bits that you wanted. So I've got some papers here, which we're going to just kind of like mix and match some. So I've got this from my Totally Dotty papers. I'm just going to cover some of these envelopes. So I'll just tear that one down. Sorry if you can hear any slamming around. My daughter's home on school holidays, so yeah, she well, hopefully she's going to be being quiet, but I mean, she won't be making loads of noise, but you might just hear her door and things like that sometimes. Okay, so we can have that one there, which, you know, colour wise that looks gorgeous, doesn't it? Then I've got some of this. This is from the Capital collection, which actually, as it happens, I've got that here already in here. So I'm going to do, I think, that middle envelope in the Capital collection. Like that. Okay. Okay. And just take that down. This is just the easiest way that I find to, you know, measure out my paper really. So, like that. Okie doke. And then for the end one, we could either have the Capital collection or we could have some more of the Totally Dotty. I think we'll have to go with the Totally Dotty because otherwise I'm going to end up with it not quite, you know, not quite big enough. So, oops, like that. Okay, oops, like that. Now in my folded areas, so where I've torn that bit of paper where I obviously, you know, got some glue on there and I've torn it, what I will do is probably cover that with a bit of lace anyway. So to be honest, you actually won't really see that particularly anyway. So although it is annoying, you know, it's hopefully not going to be too apparent by the time it's all finished. So it is annoying the amount of times that I dab glue places and then do end up actually, you know, sticking something to something and then tearing it. Is, yeah, you would have thought that I would learn really and not do that, wouldn't you? But no, I still do it. So that's going to be my envelopes. Now the next thing that I would probably like to do is I would like to add some extra flaps. So I've got here some coffee dyed paper, and to be honest, I could have used craft coloured card or paper because, you know, I've got the craft coloured envelopes, but I'm going to use this coffee dyed paper. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, before I glue these bits of paper down, check whether I want to put any flaps on these envelopes tucked under the paper, if you see what I mean. So I'm just going to tear or cut the paper down first. I think we'll take it down in half. So like that. Actually, I'm going to just cut this rather than tear it. So just cut that along the edge. Okay, like that. And yeah, so this one is opening this way. So if I wanted to have a flap here, I'd probably want it opening that way. And, you know, I've said about putting it underneath this paper. I've got two options, really. I could have it under that paper or I could have it tucked around the front of the envelope. So I don't think it really matters too much. I think it's going to look good either way. So I'm just going to fold that in like that. And then I'll just take this down here. And all of these bits, these are how you're going to transform it into a much more interactive, interesting folio. You know, it's all the sort of tons of flaps and things that make it really interesting and cool to look through. So like that. And then this one we'd have on here like that. Okay. And then what I could do is I could even have another flap opening this way if I wanted. So, or I could have it somewhere else. I mean, or we could have it at the top actually. Oh, perhaps we'll have one at the top. So just opening that. Let's just have a look and see what that would be like. That's quite cool, isn't it? So yeah, so I'm just going to fold this down like that. So this was just an A4 sheet of coffee dyed paper, and this is 230 GSM, so it's thicker than copy paper. I personally would not use copy paper or anything, you know, remotely kind of the similar thickness to copy paper for flaps and things. Again, that's personal choice. I wouldn't, because I'm very clumsy and I'm likely to tear it if it's flimsy paper. But hey, if you are somebody who's more, you know, gentle, I suppose would be the word, then maybe you would get on all right. Personally, I definitely would not get on all right. I would be tearing the paper left, right and centre. So yeah, for me, it's got to be something thicker. So I'm just like lining up the bits where we think we might like to have them like that. Then obviously we've got these two envelopes here. Now, again, we might want to have some other pockets and things like that on those. Now I have got a lined envelope. It's not really going to be great colours. It's just that happened to be sat beside me and I thought, oh, wouldn't that be handy if that was, you know, just coordinated with this. But no, it's not going to. Got a very tiny bit of coffee dyed paper. That's not really going to do a lot. I mean, we could have a little flap there, I suppose. It's a bit sort of insignificant. You know, I'm just grabbing that because it was an offcut that just happened to be sat beside my desk. Let me just see whether I've got any more. So I've got this one, which I'm wondering actually whether we could even have this here with something over that as a pocket. That might be quite nice. So let's just kind of like tentatively put these bits around like that. Let me see whether I've got any more coffee dyed paper. And again, when I say coffee dyed paper, I really mean the coffee dyed card, you know, something thicker. So I've got this one. So let's just take this down here. Okay. Oops. Right. So yeah, quite like this. Do I have anything else? Got some of my Paris collection paper. So I'm just sort of picking out papers. This has been coffee dyed on the back that, you know, sort of they're already got pattern and things on the front. Just seeing whether we could sort of use any of those as like flaps and things. But yeah, I'm not sure about that. Just see, have I got any other? I've got this from my birds collection, which we could have something from here. Just so we've got some different looking flaps. So they're not all, you know, from the coffee dyed paper. So this one, for example, we could have this one. Well, we could have this as a foldy up flap. So again, just going to like fold this down like that. Okay. And then we'll just cut this down. Oops. Like that. Okie dokie. And then just snip off the edges there. Snip off that bit there. Okay, and then just cut off that bottom bit. I mean, to be honest, not that you'll probably see that, but just in case you did. So that can then come up here. So it's been coffee dyed on the back. And again, this is that 230 GSM. So, you know, nice and thick, not flimsy paper. So that one can go on there like that. So already you can see we've got a lot of extra pieces. You know, this is now not really resembling much of what it looked like just now. So, you know, that's what it's all about. We're just kind of mixing things up and getting a whole bunch of really different looking bits and pieces. So now for this one, I'm thinking, oh, what am I thinking for this one? I mean, we could have another flap maybe here, or maybe I don't want to have it like all down, over, up, because it feels a little bit sort of deliberate, which I mean, of course it would be deliberate, but I don't want it to feel too deliberate like that. So yeah, we might be better off going with this one. So I'm just going to again cut that bit off. So this one has been printed 2 to a page, so that's why it's a bit smaller. So I'm going to just go over here because this edge with the white will probably be covered up anyway with paper. So I think that would be okay to use that. Let's have a look. Right. Okay. So yeah, we've got lots and lots of different flaps there, which I really am liking. So let's glue some of these bits and pieces down. And anywhere I have got the flaps like over the other sides, if you see what I mean, they will also be covered up with paper. So I'm not going to leave them so you can just see those flaps there. Okay. So yeah, pop this. Let's try and go kind of closest to the edges. Oops, I've just got to, sometimes you get these like thready type bits of glue, which just you have to pull them out in order to clear the nozzle. Okay. Nozzle cleared now. Okay, and then, yeah. Oops, I can't now see whether that's up the right way or the wrong way. Yeah, there you go. Like that. And we just then spread that out with the glue spreader Okey-dokey. So then this one, we've got the pocket here kind of onto the side. So we're just going to glue this down here. Before I glue this down, actually, I'm going to just quickly ink this. I will be inking the whole thing, but I just want to particularly ink this because it was looking quite white and bright compared to everything else on here. So just getting a head start with that one. Okay. So, yep, hooking that just onto that side of that envelope. So, squish that down. Okie dokie. I just dropped my tissue onto the floor. Let me just grab another piece. Okay. Right, like that. So on this edge here, or on this envelope, there will be covered paper or paper covering that. So you won't really see, you might see a little bit, but you're not going to see that white part. So that's that. Okay, looking good, looking good, looking good. Right, just going to quickly spread that down a bit more because I can just see where some of the glue is. Okay, because obviously that glue then sort of seeped out quite a bit, didn't it? Not too worried because obviously that's going to be covered with paper anyway, so you're not going to really see it. Okay, so next one, we've got this one here. So I'm going to pop this piece of paper down onto the envelope. So you can see, I mean, very, very quickly they build up, don't they, and come together. I mean, you know, quite a bit of the work's already been done, obviously, with the forming of the base skeleton piece. You know, that takes quite a bit of time. And then, obviously, the decorating will take you quite a while. This actually kind of building it up part, I think, is reasonably quick. You know, it doesn't really take too long. Once you get started, you know, maybe your initial pieces might take a little while deciding how you want your flaps and folds and things like that. But once you kind of get into the rhythm and you think, oh yeah, I definitely want this here and that there, then I think they come together quite quickly. Now I can't remember which one was for which bit. I mean, it probably doesn't really matter, but who knows. Right, so going to put this one down here. And then, to be honest, with regards to the flaps that are folded out, I'd not necessarily got rules about whether I would cover those or not. I think kind of I would play it by ear as to, you know, once it's getting quite full and decorated, see whether then this looks like it's, you know, standing out like a sore thumb being plain, or whether actually it kind of needs that bit of plain to calm the whole thing down. So, you know, I don't think there's any rules really. Now, this one, before I glue this down, I'm just going to ink this because it's going to be easier to get to whilst it's not got the flap there. So, like that. Okay. In fact, I might as well just ink this whole portion. So, this whole central sort of section. Like that. Okay. Oops. Like that, and here, like that. Now this one here, this envelope here, oops, whenever I have an envelope on a folio that's got a small opening, i.e. like this, I've learned over time you're better off making that one of those Crafty Cat kind of envelopes. And by that, if you haven't seen what I'm talking about, I would cover it on both sides and then cut the envelope open here, rather than trying to use this little slot, only because sort of previous experience has told me that that makes it very, very tight to get in there because it's, you know, glued down onto the folio. So that's just kind of like something that I've learned over time. Obviously, you know, I have in the past glued them down differently, you know, using that, but I just think actually in hindsight, if you can, you're better off using it, you know, like a Crafty Cat one. Now this this piece here, I'm going to just narrow this down. So I'm just going to take this down a bit because I think it would benefit from being slimmer. I think otherwise it looks a bit sort of wide, you know, like we've got sort of a few wide flaps going on. So this one, and we're just going to glue this here. Again, we are gluing this now over the back. So remember, these are plain envelopes on the back that obviously, you know, you're going to have to cover. So by doing that, again, the piece of paper is over the back and then it's going to be covered by other paper. So like that. I don't know why I've mited just one of those edges. That was just my mistake. But anyway, I'll just pop that down there. Trying to get it roughly in the middle, but, you know, I mean, it doesn't really matter too much. So like that. Now the reason why I've done that really at the top rather than the bottom is just because I'm probably likely to have some lace or something along this bottom bit, maybe some sari silk. And if I put this flap here, it's just going to get in the way of the lace or the sari silk. So, you know, for me personally, again, just things that you learn over time, I would prefer to have the top flap. So straight away, we've got this flap here, we've got this one, and we've got this one. So move it over, and then we're just going to do, again, pop this one down. Oops. Like that. And this on the back, this is my Regency era paper. Okie dokie. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this folio yet. I haven't decided what direction we're going to go, whether we're going to stick with these colours or whether we're going to go off at a tangent. I've got some of my peacock pieces here, which are sort of calling me. So I might be tempted to use some peacock type pieces. I really love those and I've found myself using them quite a bit recently. And they just look awesome with everything. So, yeah, there's a bit of a temptation. I'll just show you, like, because that would go pretty nicely, wouldn't it, on here? So, yeah, I have got a bit of a temptation to use some of these on here. We shall see how it goes. Again, I mean, if I do remember, I do try and miter these corners just because when you glue it down, you know, if for any chance you've got sort of like any overhang, it's just then not so obvious when you've got a mitered corner. So, you know, it's another thing that's just sort of good practice if you remember. It's not essential, but if you remember, it's quite handy to do. So put that down like that. Okay, let's open that out. And then I normally try and glue it down here and then try and remember to open it out and just mop up any excess glue that might be seeping out there. Okay, right. Oh, look, I've got some glue here as well. There we go. Right. So do we think this piece, or is that just a bit too pathetic? Well, funnily enough, I have got bigger pieces now. Although by the time that I fold that, that's going to be no bigger. What am I talking about? Oh, that was a foldy, look. I hadn't noticed that. That was actually a foldy anyway. So yeah, lucky I spotted that at the last minute. So we could have that, or we could have a sort of smallish fold up. I mean, yeah, we could have a small fold. There's no reason why we couldn't do that. So let's just take that and fold that in. Like that. Take this down. Again, just miter those corners in. Although it is a small flap, because it's going on a smallish flap, it doesn't look out of place. I mean, obviously I wouldn't have a ginormous flap on like this envelope because that might look really silly. Although, to be honest, it does look okay now I've put it there. But if you put it on here, it's kind of in proportion to the flap. You could even have it like on this one, you know. it's all about sort of proportion, I suppose, isn't it? So putting it onto what's essentially a smallish piece of paper in the first place, it then looks okay, doesn't it? So we'll just pop that one down. Okay. Like that. Okie dokie. Squish that down, and again, just open it out, get any excess glue from there. Okay, so the next thing, obviously, really what I'd like to do is cover like the insides of the envelopes, and then if I'm going to cover like these bits or anything, cover those, cover that crafty cat type piece that we talked about, and then we can start sort of adding like pockets and things like that. Now I'm just going to glue that envelope down a bit because I've just noticed that it's coming apart a bit, and that can happen sometimes with envelopes, can't it? So yeah. Right, okay, so again, bringing in my papers. Now, also got some of my Documents Set 2 collection papers, and I thought they might be quite good on here. So, yeah, I probably want to, yeah, take that down here. Oops, very hard to see. Right, so take that one down there. That down. Well, I'm going to just tear that down. Okey-dokey. Put that there. And then again, just take it here like that. Okay. Take that down. Right, looking good. And then, so here is where my envelope kind of flap is. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to fold it down here where I can kind of then see the approximate size of the envelope. I mean, this is just my budgie way of doing it, and I'm not saying that this is, you know, the best way to do it or anything like that. It's just how I find it easiest. I'm not one of those people who could measure that envelope out and accurately cut that down to the size of the envelope shape. You know, I would make a complete hash of doing that, and, you know, it would look awful. I'd have wasted the paper because I'd just have loads of bits that didn't then fit on anything. So for me, I would rather do this method. You know, I don't mind that that's not fitting the whole envelope, if you see what I mean. Like that. Because I think that looks quite cool like that. But we've all got our own sort of individual methods of doing things, haven't we? So just because, you know, I find this easiest, somebody else might find it easier to actually get their ruler out and measure this and, you know, or maybe trace around it, draw the shape about and cut it down, you know. For me, I definitely couldn't do that. That would be sort of beyond my capabilities, and it would turn out just absolutely a big mess. So yeah, I'm better off definitely doing it like this. And luckily for me, I don't mind the torn edges. Now that is hard to say what came first, the chicken or the egg sort of situation. Did I, you know, dislike torn edges in the first place, and actually then I discovered that that was all I could cope with or all I could manage? So then I thought, oh, funnily enough, I quite like the torn edges. Or did I actually like the torn edges first of all and then go with them? I'm not sure. I think it was probably kind of around about the same time. Well, I probably discovered it pretty quickly and thought, well, actually I can't really kind of cope with the whole measuring thing, so I'll go with the torn edges. But yeah, as luck has it, I actually think they look really nice anyway. Right, so that's that piece. Then we've got this one. Now again, I don't know yet whether I'm going to have this little piece here as a pocket. We shall see. So just get some more paper and just cover this one. Yeah, should we do it like that, I think. Okay. Like that. Fold that in there. Like that. Okay. Right, there we go. Tear that down. Okay. Now I'm thinking, is that a bit samey as that one? I've got some more paper here, which I could use that for. Oh, I don't know now. No, I'm going to put it, actually, I'm going to put it on this side. Because the chances are I'm probably going to cover this up anyway with maybe something else. So, you know, it's just a starting point, really. So, like that. Now, on the insides of these brown craft pieces, what I might do is have just like coffee dyed paper, so they're actual journaling spaces. You know, you don't have to always have pretty papers. You can have, you know, just some craft coloured paper, not craft coloured, sorry, some coffee dyed paper, and use it as a journaling space or a journaling spot. So just get rid of all that glue. So like that, and then in here, for example, what you could do is then put some coffee dyed paper in there. So let me just grab some coffee dyed paper. Oops. Well, that's not coffee dyed paper, but this is some vintage documents, which is fine because that will work fine. Although, to be honest, although that is vintage document, it's been photocopied, you know, not by me. It was how it was when I bought it. So it's not actually very dark. It's, you know, it's quite pale. So I might have to ink this up because otherwise it's not going to really look very, very vintage, even though the irony is it is vintage. Okay. So like that, and then we just take that down. Actually, I might do it like this, so as we have that sort of bit of vintagey text on there. So like that. Okay. Of course, I'll keep this because we might use that somewhere else. Right, so this one, what I will quickly do is just, I think, ink this up. So let me just grab a sheet of paper or something to cover my desk while I'm inking that. Hold on. Okay. So yeah, I just don't want to get the ink all over everything else. So yeah, I mean, the irony, that actually is a vintage piece of paper, but we're now having to age it because it doesn't look it. Crazy situation. Okay, like that. Such a grey day outside today. Don't know what's going on. Right, there we go. So yeah, they're then just kind of like journaling space. This has got some vintage text on it, but I mean, obviously it's very pale, so you could always write over that, you know. It would cover up very easily. Or, you know, you could just leave it and it looks pretty. So I'm going to put my book page down underneath this. The reason being is when I use my glue spreader, any glue that spreads up here will just spread onto that book page and I won't get it onto the... Oh, that's the least of my worries. Like, I'm getting it all over anyway. So yeah, can you see all that glue that's smooshing out? It's just now going on to the book page. So again, just another sort of little precautionary kind of measure. That just, you know, if you can remember to do that, that's quite good practice, really. Obviously, you don't have to. Okay. Like that. Okay. And then moving it over, just do the other piece. So some here. Just check that that's, yeah. Wasn't sure whether that piece, that front flap, was slightly smaller. Okie dokie. Like that. Okay, so pop that down. Again, spread all of that glue. I do love making folios, I have to say. I mean, they don't normally turn out, you know, the same as one another. You know, they might have different flaps in different places and things like that. So they're all unique. I mean, obviously they never turn out the same as each other anyway, because I would never decorate them the same. But the chances are they don't turn out the same from a, you know, flaps point of view either. They might have flaps in different places as well. So yeah, they're quite fun to make, you know. If you've got like a low boredom threshold, they're definitely a fun thing to make. So this one here was that one that I said about that we'll make into a crafty cat envelope. So I'll just kind of show you how to do that. And you've probably seen it anyway, but just in case you haven't. So I'm going to use, I think, some of this. Just decide, yeah, I'm going to put it this way round. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to fold this down to size. Like that. Maybe slightly bigger actually, like that. Okay, and then from there, let's just take it in here. Like that. Okay, so I'm just going to, oops, tear this down. Oh, maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm not. Yeah, oh my goodness, that was tough to get into. Right, there we go. And then I'm just going to cut this down here, so it's the same size. Right, and then we'll just cut this, or tear this, sorry, like that. Okay, so that one will go there on the front, like that. And then on the inside, you know where I said about this tricky to get to? We put this one on that inside. And then what you've done, you've covered up the hole here. And then what we can do is cut it open there. Now I'm just going to have to trim this down slightly smaller, because actually now I've done that, it's looking just a little bit too long. Right, there we go. So what I'll do is, again, pull in my book page. Just get rid of that one. This under there. Right, so we glue this down. Now what you want to do is make sure it's glued down here on this strip. So I'm going to glue down there, and then glue down around the edge of this piece of paper, and then I'm going to do the whole of the inner part of the envelope. Okay, so then you should have captured everywhere that you need to glue, so like that. Okay, so again, just put my glue spreader, spread the glue out nicely like that. Like that. Okie dokie. Right, looking good, looking good. So yeah, mop up all that excess glue, and then on the other side, lucky we have lots of book pages, isn't it? On the other side, I'm going to put this piece down on here. Now this side, obviously, we can glue the whole piece down, you know, without all that messing about. So all the glue onto the piece of paper. Like that. Okie dokie. Like that. Get the glue spreader. Spread all that glue out. And I did get a question a few weeks ago asking, why do I use so much glue? Well, yeah, I've no idea really. I'm just very paranoid about things not really gluing down properly. So for me, I'd rather have way too much glue than not use enough, and then things start coming unstuck. You know, I hate that when things are then peeling up. So yeah, just prefer to use a lot of glue and make sure it's really stuck down. Okay, so then what you do, take your scissors and we're just going to slice this open along this edge here. So like that. Oops, it's very soggy, I'm afraid, from the glue. Like that. And so now what you've got is obviously, oops, a big side opening pocket. Now this, I've just noticed, this envelope, can you see where those envelopes, you know, they were purchased like that? They're not quite then stuck down at the corners, so just pop a little bit of glue into those corners just to, you know, just so they're properly assembled. But yeah, I mean, that was a manufacturer type thing, so sometimes envelopes are just like that. Okay, right. So yeah, love how that looks. Okay, so it's coming along quite nicely, isn't it? And then open that out. Oops, close that, close that, close that. And then we'll go onto this side where we've obviously got this flap, and then we've got this one here. This is a single one, it's not a foldy out one or anything. So again, we can just then pick some paper. So what paper shall we go with? Oh, I might not have any more of that documents paper, which is annoying, because I was thinking, oh, perhaps we'll have, you know, balance this out and have some more of the documents. But no, I think we'll have to have this after all. That's okay. So yeah, just going to put this in here. Oops, like that. Again, just kind of like take it out to the size of the envelope. I mean, this is, like I say, just my methods. So please, please don't think, you know, that you have to do it like this. Oops. So, I mean, I've torn into the paper and everything, but that's not going to matter because that's the section that's being torn out anyway. So, right there. Take this down here. Okay. Like that. And then here, we're again just taking this now, like around the envelope. So, I mean, now I've traced that a little bit with my nail. I don't know whether you can see that on the back. I can see roughly where my envelope is. So, you know, if I wanted to, I can try and follow those lines a bit. I mean, I'm not making a great job of following those, to be honest, because the light's catching this every time I'm moving it. But I mean, obviously, if I wasn't filming, I could move this somewhere where the light wasn't catching it quite so much. But like that. And then, you know, that then fits over that patch or over that, you know, that envelope. So I'm just going to cut down the bottom slightly because I think I maybe did that slightly too tall. Like that. It goes in there. Yeah, like that. Now I'm just going to just take down this little bit here. Otherwise this was sort of hanging over the envelope, which would of course then just be a vulnerable point because then it's going to be flimsy paper. So yeah, like that. Okay, so looking good so far. So again, just glue this down. Like that. Okay. Oops, like that. Okay, right. So then we'll just smoosh that down. Isn't my daughter being quiet? I don't know what she's doing. She's obviously just on her phone. On her phone and eating, I suspect. So, yeah. Right, there we go. Right, so that's then glued down there. So I just want a piece for here now. Let me just see whether I've got any other papers because I really like something else. Just going to stop while I have a look. Hold on. Okay, so I dug out some more of my Totally Dotty paper. Now, it's not the same colour dots, but I think that's fine. You know, this one was kind of more tealy looking, but yeah, I think that's fine. Or I have to say, I was tempted to pull in this. So this is my Roses collection paper, and I thought, oh, I wonder whether we should go like crazy and mix it up with something pink and gorgeous. And I have to say, I'm still wondering that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that feels like a little bit, whoa, but I do like it, because otherwise I've dug out these like to just show you some potential kind of pocket type things, but we are maybe going a little bit too blue. You know, perhaps actually it would be better to have some things to break it up. I'm not sure. Oh gosh, I wish I was live again. Wishing I was live so I could hear you guys, to hear your thoughts on this. Do you think that we should be doing a bit of pink stuff to sort of mix this up? Now, the only thing is, I'm not sure where I would put the pink on this side. I mean, of course, I do have that underside, which, you know, but I feel like I would want to have some sort of pink maybe here. Well, I mean, I'm sure we could incorporate some sort of pink somewhere pretty easily. Let me just, or I could have this side actually. This is the vintage desk, so that's again much more subtle. Oh, I don't know. This is a really tricky one. Let me just tear this down. Just see. I mean, just because everything is blue on the base, you know, doesn't mean I necessarily have to have everything blue on the folio, you know, the decorating part. That being said, I do notice that I've pulled in blue pieces that I was about to show you, some potential pocket pieces, but aside from that, you know, it doesn't all have to be blue. Oh dear, I'm not even convincing myself now. So yeah, let's take that up there. So I mean, this is keeping it safe. Obviously everything is perfectly, you know, coordinated and looks really good, but do we want to go wild and just be like, whoa, look at that folio? Oh, I just wish that I could hear you, because I know that whatever decision I make, it's going to be the wrong one. You know, I'll put it on and loads of you will say, well, no, wouldn't have done that. Or I won't put it on and loads of you will say, oh, you should have done. I'm just going to tear this down. Oh, it's killing me to tear this down, because I'm like, oh, I like both sides of this paper. And it's like, oh, I might not even use it. I'm being really wasteful. I mean, obviously, I won't be throwing it away. I would use it for something else. It just means I wouldn't use it for this. But let's just see. So this is where I'm saying, you know, the covering of like the coffee dyed paper, I just will sort of play by ear. So I don't mind it being not covered at all. But that being said, you know, if we decide to go like down a pink route, we might think, well, actually, that's the perfect place to add some pink. So, you know, you can kind of like mix and match really. Still can't decide. I do really like it. It's got to be said. I do really like having that splash of pink. You know, and we have got pink, obviously, in some of the other bits of paper. So, I mean, it's not like really out on a limb, is it? Yeah. Oh, I wish I could decide. This is so tough. Right, well, while I'm debating this, what I've got here, this is some more of my Documents Set 2 collection papers. Now, unfortunately, it's gone wonky on my printer and things, so you have to excuse the wonkiness. But just to sort of show you, you know, some pocket examples. So you could cut out all these individual elements. Now, obviously, this is not very straight because the printer's taken it through wonky, like I say. So, you know, unfortunately, we're going to have a bit of a wonky look here, but I'll just take that down. So, you know, you could straight away have something like that on an envelope, or maybe on this side. And actually what we could do is have some of the roses paper coming out behind there. So like sort of double layer it or something. Again, it's hard to gauge with the, oh, I'm gonna have to cut that down, aren't I? Oh, right, okay, so let's go in. Yeah, I'm going to go in this side, I think, so like that. And then I'm just going to cut around it. So yeah, it's not going to probably be very straight, but we'll just see. My gosh, not very straight. I mean, absolutely wonky as anything is what it is. Okay, right, just going to cut this top bit down where it's not got quite a borderless edge. Okay, so that would just get that touch of pink into there. I mean, obviously I probably want to cut it down, but you know, just to give me a sort of gauge for how that would look. So like that. I could maybe have something like that on there. Oh yeah, I'm converted now. I'm gonna go with the pink. Definitely gonna go with the pink. And now, of course, now I haven't got any pink to put in here. Well, I will have to dig out some more paper, so I'll do that after the video, but I'm just going to tear this off and just put this in here so I remember. That's what my plan was. But yeah, that's kind of like a way to get the bits in. So I'm just going to cut this down slightly more on the sides. Okay, like that. It's just going to take that down where it's wonky. Okay, oh my goodness. Right. Like that. So yeah, that would go on there. So what I would do, I would glue the roses paper down because that's just thin paper. It's not a, you know, thick quality paper or anything. It's just the thinner paper. So glue the roses down, and then this one I would glue on like 3 sides and make it a side loading pocket. So let's do that now. So glue this one down. Actually, just before I glue this down, I'm just going to wipe that glue off there because I've just suddenly had another thought for this. So if you didn't want this just looking really flat, which, you know, I mean, obviously it's going to because it's just a piece of paper, what you could do is like rough up the edges. So I'm just going to do that first. So just go around the edges of your paper and rough them up like that. Like that. Okay. And then all across the top. Oops. Right, it's not roughing up very well because obviously it's now a bit soggy with the glue, but I'm sure you get the idea. So like that. Okay, so when that goes down, just that little bit of roughing that up, you can see that's totally transformed how that looks now. It's got a much more textured kind of appearance, hasn't it? It's not flat on there. So glue this down. And just little things like that can make such a huge difference to how the finished thing will look, because it will take it from looking quite flat to, you know, looking much more sort of interesting and sort of textured. So like that. Okay. Now I'm not going to even press it down right in the corners because, you know, I want the edges to be a little bit roughly like that. Okay. So not going right up to the edges, just lifting them slightly like that. Okay. And then my pocket, we're going to have here like that. So I will just ink the pocket first. I mean, I'm going to ink the whole thing anyway, but I just want a definite sort of edge to the pocket. like that. And then, whoops, that will go on there. That will close like that. And then, you know, maybe I will put something on here as well, like a little pocket or something. We'll have a look. But this one I'm going to just glue down as, yeah, probably a side pocket. So I'll just do glue on the top, down the side and down the bottom, like that. And then just glue that down. Like that. Okay. That looks gorgeous, doesn't it? And then obviously this one, we could do the same here with this roses paper here that's going in the middle. So just rough it up a bit. Now this one I'm going to just ink before I put it down, because I don't want to necessarily ink the coffee dye paper. It's quite sort of brown already with the coffee dye. It doesn't need more inking. So just quickly ink this up here before gluing it down. Like that. Oh, I hope you guys are going to be thinking I made the right decision with the adding the roses paper. Yeah. Okay. So then that can go there, and then, you know, we'll maybe have like this as a sort of pocket here. Again, it's really annoying that my printer has sucked that through wonky, because now I'm going to have to cut off some of that header piece. Oh, how annoying. Like, oh my gosh, look at what's going on with this. It's getting worse and worse. Oh dear. That's okay. Yep, that's okay. So, yep, we're just going to glue this one down here. Oops. Like that. Okay. Plenty of glue on there. Pop that down. And then exactly the same as the other one, you know, this one, I'm not going to kind of like press it right to the edges. I just want to make sure it's glued onto there, but not going right to the edges, because I still want them to have a bit of lift. So like that. Okay, let's just quickly ink this up. Okay, and then, yeah, going to have that there. And then, to be honest, you know, I mean, it's now taking on some colour anyway with the pinks and things anyway, but you could even then, you know, go all out again by maybe like mixing in some more colour, like with the peacock pieces and things like that. I don't know. But, you know, that's another sort of possibility. Yeah, I don't know whether I'm going to do that, but it looks quite pretty, doesn't it? Obviously, for that shaped piece, I feel it would need to go portrait, but you know, there's other pieces that I could use. So yeah, so I hope that you like it. I hope it's given you a lot of inspiration, and that you like the you know, the concept of building the not a portfolio, but building the folio from the basic skeletons. Like I say, they're all available obviously on my shop. If I get time, I will add some more to them other than the ones that you've just seen, but obviously, you know, I'm not sure whether I will have time or not. But yeah, I really hope that this gives you lots of ideas of what you can do with your folio. You know, straight away, this is building up and becoming something, you know, very yummy and gorgeous. You know, and that's before we've added like lace and bling and, you know, bits and bobs and, I don't know, butterflies and things like that. I mean, once we've added all those extra bits, it would just be, you know, a glorious kind of feast for the eyes. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where I'm going to be putting the lace and things yet, but you know, we'll have loads of bits of lace and bling and things like that on here as well. So yeah, hope that you feel inspired. I don't know whether I'm going to do any more videos with this folio, because I know I talk about this all the time, but sometimes that messes with the algorithm, because obviously not that many people want to watch after the initial idea. So yeah, we'll kind of see really, but I hope that you feel inspired. Like I say, the folios, the blanks, they are in my shop on my website, so if you wanted to head over and check them out. And yeah, let me know what you think. Did I make the right choice with adding the roses paper, or oh my goodness, did I make the wrong choice, in which case, oh, it's too late, I can't take them off now. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate a big thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would really appreciate you subscribing to my channel. Thanks so much then. Bye.